Hello and welcome. This is Professor Rasmussen. This is Chapter 6, Intelligence, and in this talk I'm going to describe some of the aspects of emotional intelligence. I'm going to separate this into two separate PowerPoints. Why? Just because there is that much information. So, let's get started. Now, what is emotional intelligence? Well, if you've ever read Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice, or maybe another novel similar to Pride and Prejudice, but if you read Pride and Prejudice, like myself, you know that it's actually a pretty decent book. The characters in there, however, though, all are said to contain a high level of emotional intelligence. Now, what does that even mean? Well, these characters that are in Pride and Prejudice, solid book, they can understand the social workings, the social fabric. They can, they can use emotions. They can read emotions. They can converse properly in all these different ways to try to, better themselves and better their family. So these characters that are portrayed in Pride and Prejudice have been noted to have a high level of emotional intelligence. So that gives you a good example of what emotional intelligence is. So Pride and Prejudice. Do these ladies from Pride and Prejudice, the zombie edition, have emotional intelligence? I'm not sure. I don't know. I haven't even seen this movie. All I know is that I'm going to watch it soon. I'm going to watch it for Halloween. Why? Because I love Halloween, and I also like Pride and Prejudice, and it should be good. So, I'm not sure. Right now, all I know is they're about to kill some zombies, so emotional intelligence, if that involves killing zombies, then I guess they have it. Alright, let's continue on. Let's stop digressing. Now, overview of the talk for today is going to be the various models of emotional intelligence. Yes, you asked for it, now you get it. It's going to be separated into three various models. First is going to be the specific ability, the second is going to be the integrative model, and the third is going to be the mixed model. Which one am I going to spend more time on? Oh yeah, it's the integrative model. That is the one that researchers typically support. That is what the research supports. That's what the evidence is, in line with for the integrative model. Now, there is definitely some evidence for the specific model. There is some evidence for the mixed model, but that in the next talk, I'm going to talk about some of the good and the bad with the mixed model. And so we'll get to that later on. So, let's get started. So, the specific abilities basically are only an individual emotional intelligence component by itself, okay, or by themselves. So, for instance, emotional recognition. This is a specific ability of emotion intelligence. So, these researchers have found study research or study results that individuals can recognize emotions in others. Okay, and this has been found in a lot of research. So, you look at a smiley face, sad face, you can detect which one's smiling, which one's sad, which one's happy, which one's sad, so on and so forth. Another one, specific ability, could be emotional appraisal. So what does that mean? Well, that means that you are creating an emotion based on the surroundings and your internal feelings. So the emotional appraisal, you can correctly portray an emotion. And here's some research for that. Alright, let's keep moving on now. Now this is what we're going to talk mostly about, the integrative model. The integrative model is composed of multiple special abilities, or specific abilities rather. It's a conglomerate, almost like that rock on the right. If you've ever taken a earth science class, some sort of class where you look at rocks, you'll know that is a piece of conglomerate. Conglomerate is a word used to describe some sort of object that is composed of other objects. So that rock looks like a rock at first glance, but then you're like, oh wait, that rock has rocks in it. Whoa, right? So basically, emotional intelligence isn't just one thing, it's made up of multiple things. And that's what this integrative model is going to incorporate. So these specific abilities are not separated from one another. Instead, these abilities correlate with one another, kind of like the positive manifold in the intelligence chapter that I've already talked about in respect to like intelligence in respect to G. Okay, that positive manifold, those other S's correlate together to form G. Well, that's kind of what this is too. We'll explain in just a moment. So the main two researchers who really pushed forward the integrative approach, amongst others, are Peter Salovey and John D. Mayer. Yeah, I did say John Mayer, okay? I don't know if John Mayer, the guitarist and the awesome singer, who who's playing for the Dead right now, which is super sellout, which is ridiculous. I'm a massive Deadhead, and I just can't even stand it. So anyhow, John Mayer, I don't know if his middle initial is D, but this guy's middle initial is D. He personally looks like to me. Who does he look like to you? He looks like George W. Bush, right? Like a skinny George W. Bush, kind of a little bit dorkier with like an afro. And how about Peter Savoy? Peter Savoy, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but Mr. Boogedy. If you've ever seen Mr. Boogedy, the TV, made-for-TV show made by Disney way back in the day, it was the 80s and 90s, you'd be like, oh, that's the dad from Mr. Boogedy. Google it. You'll check it out, and you'll see that's the dad from Mr. Boogedy. He also looks like my allergist/asthma specialist when I was growing up, Dr. Resnick. I don't think it's him, but a mustache. Gotta love it. I don't think he's got a mustache anymore. Anyhow, let's keep going on. Those two researchers, as well as others, put together a lot of different models, and they've changed over the ages, but this is the model that is current, and this is what I'm going to talk about. It's basically a 4-factor model. So the first thing is going to be perceiving emotions, and I'll elaborate on this in just a second. There's also going to be using emotions. Those combine together to form this experiential EIQ. That would be emotional intelligence quotient. Okay, so recognizing, comparing emotions and sensations, so on and so forth. Now the other, third and fourth factor are going to contain understanding emotions and then managing emotions. This is a little bit higher level than just perceiving and using emotions, as you can see. This is called strategic EIQ. So you can understand, you can actually use them, you can draw implications from these emotions. Now the experiential and the strategic together form the total EIQ, or there's all different sorts of emotional intelligence, EI. So there you have it. Okay, so those are the 4, and we're going to talk about those 4 in just a moment. The 4 factors, the branch scores, and then what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how you can actually measure those. Okay, so first off, let's start talking about what those are. So let's start off with perceiving emotions, and we'll go to managing emotions, and then we'll talk about how to measure them. All right, so basically, the first one, the perception and expression, this is really just to recognize and properly display emotions. Okay, so pretty simple. All right, so just recognize and be able to properly display emotions that you're having or emotions that you're seeing. You can recognize them. I'll give you, again, this will be helpful when I tell you how researchers measure this. The integrative approach also categorizes using emotions. So what does this mean? Well, it also is sometimes called and referred to as assimilate emotions into thought, but now currently researchers are using just use emotions. Got choked up there, I don't know why. So, using emotions to aid thinking and judgment. That's a big theme here, okay? So you're going to use your emotions to aid your thinking or your judgment. So, pretend that you're seeing grandma saying racist stuff, okay? You're going to get angry at that more than likely, and then you're going to tell her what's up, okay? So you use your emotions because you're seeing your grandma say these, this old world racist stuff, and you get mad at her, and so, you get angry and you get mad. So what do? You're going to use that emotion to support your thinking, and you're going to be like, hey, this is wrong. I'm going to tell you off. You're going to say, hey, stop doing that, Grandma. You can also use emotions to improve performance on some sort of task, maybe like sports, okay? So you get pumped up before a big match, all right? Using emotions to better you. All right, let's move on to the understanding and analyzing emotions. A little bit higher level, but now this is when you know how emotions unfold. You're like a Jedi Master who knows how these emotions come in and they roll over and they take place and they can create change. So this is your really understanding the emotions. So here you get angry at Grandma, and now you feel horrible, okay? And now you know you feel horrible because you got angry. Now you probably made Grandma sad. And now their grandma she's holding her head. She's like, this is all I know how to do. All I know how to do is kind of be, my old world self. Sometimes I'm racist, but that's who I am. And you're like, no. And so there you have it. This is you now feeling bad because of your emotional uprising a moment ago. So you got emotionally uprisen, okay? That's great. But now you realize that, oh, no, I probably shouldn't have done that. Now you're understanding. You're putting these things together. Okay. Now the last one here, again, you got grandma thrown into the mix here, okay? Now you got grandma thrown in the mix here. This is called managing emotions. Also, oftentimes in the previous research, described as reflective regulation, Okay, so managing emotions, that's all you need to think about it, is you're being able to reflect on your emotions, okay, being able to reflect on them, as well as being able to manage your emotions. And that's the biggest thing here, really, is being able to manage what you are going to do in the future as well as now, okay? So, the next time your grandma says something mean and racist, you know what? You stay calm, you stay patient. You're able to manage your emotion, and you might be able to kind of segue grandma off those racist comments, okay? Until she flicks you off and realizes what you're doing, right? So basically, this is a nice description of those four components of the integrative approach. So, now you're probably wondering, hey, how do you study this? How do you actually measure people's emotional intelligence? Well, here you go. This is the Mayer, Salovey, and Caruso. Caruso was the other researcher. I didn't put a picture up, but these two researchers are making tons of cash right now. Beyond their professional, their academic career, they're very, very popular in respect to the emotional intelligence testing, and emotional intelligence testing is really, really popular in the workforce. With hiring and firing individuals. And so this is the Meyer, Salovey, and Caruso Emotional Intelligence Test, the MSCEIT. Whew, that is a mouthful. It consists of 141 items. They're either right or wrong. Okay, so they're right or wrong. The right answers come from both. So to get the right answers, it's not as simple as like, what's 2 plus 2? Well, we know the answer is 4. Okay. What's the appropriate answer to, what is the proper thing to do with someone who's angry? Well, I'm not sure. That's not as simple as, well, you ignore them, that could be right in some situations, it could be wrong. So how did the right answers get, scored and coded as correct? Well, researchers looked at group consensus, okay? A lot of groups, okay, a lot of individuals, and they looked at how people respond. And then they also compare this to, in other research, 21 emotional experts, okay? And what they actually found is there was a high convergence between the two. So the groups of people, like these large, scale studies, with hundreds of people, they answered one way, and then they compared that to how the 21 emotional experts answered, and there was actually high correlation, convergence between the two, suggesting that, people are going to answer, one way, and then the emotional experts are going to answer the other way, and lo and behold, they're the similar way. So, when people get them correct, they get them correct, and when they get them wrong, they get them wrong. Okay, so if they answer the same, I guess that would be correct. If they answer the same in the opposite way, it'd be wrong. Okay, all right, so hopefully you get the point. Let's keep going on. So basically, to perceive emotions, how happy, are these people? You can go through and rate these people. It's how happy, okay? Also, the interesting thing is not just faces that these researchers are asking to rate on a scale of like 1 to like 7 on how happy. Also, images, okay? These abstract images. So this scene here, to me, that's actually really happy. But if I was to show you like those, like a bomb dropping and then those flowers, those sunflowers wilting or something, that'd probably be a little bit less happy. So using emotions, how does joy map onto taste and temperature? That's a weird one. So joy map onto taste and temperature. I don't know. Joy, taste on sweet, maybe. I don't know. Temperature, kind of warm. Something like that. Match a mood to a type of activity which might be enhanced. Oh, okay. Maybe something like excitement. Going out on a date. Oh, okay. Yeah, totally. So being able to use emotions. Understand emotions. Matching anger and disgust or anger and happiness. Oh, I wonder which ones go together. Probably anger and disgust, because anger and happiness, those are the exact opposites. Anger and disgust are not, perfect, but they're similar, more similar than anger and happiness. Man, I'm giving so many right answers right now, guys. You guys better be taking notes. If you ever have to take the MSCEIT, you just be getting them all right. Changes. If anger was intensified, it would lead to, and then you have to fill in the blank. So you could say rage, some other word that I'm not thinking of right now. Manage emotions, provide a vignette. A vignette is a nice little French word, I do believe. I think it'd have to be. For a case description. And asked how to basically best manage that vignette or that individual in that vignette or that situation from that vignette. So you're asked, what would you do when your grandma gets mad and you're the only one there? Okay? So you need to think about how would you manage those emotions. Okay, so guys, girls, that's basically the integrative model in a nutshell. I talked about what it is, who the researchers were, and how you can actually measure the integrative approach. Okay, so let's get on to the mixed model. So the mixed model is really cool. I basically view it kind of like as a mixologist, someone who's going to be putting together a drink. Personally, martinis, I've heard, are really, really tasty. And so you can think of, shaken, not stirred. Here, they're shaken, and you put it into the glass, and that's kind of what it is. It's kind of similar to the integrative model, including multiple components. However, the mixed model actually it basically does this. It tries to say that these are the individual components of the mixed model, and these are specific forms of emotional intelligence. And let's say there's 5 or 6 of them. But what the researchers have found is that these 5 or 6 potential areas of research or of the model for the mixed model, they really might just include things like traits, personality, ability, things along those lines. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later on. But the mixed model approach is still very popular. There's tons of various studies that have been performed. There's also many intelligence tests that use the mixed model, emotional intelligence tests that use the mixed model, and there's a lot of money in these. Okay, so we'll talk about this a little bit more later on. But anyhow, that's the mixed model, and the mixed model was very popular and often popularized by this guy right here, Daniel Goleman. All right, so Daniel Goleman, you may have read Emotional Intelligence, so on and so forth. We'll talk a little bit about this in the next chapter, but a lot of people like this book, but we'll actually talk about how some of his work may have been overgeneralized just a little bit. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, that has been basically a very nice introduction to the 3 different models that can be used to describe emotional intelligence. I really hope this has been helpful, and I will catch you on the next talk, where I'm going to talk about research, the good and the bad, as well as emotional intelligence and psychopathy and empathy. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great one.